Oh yeah, welcome back to Captain Coleslaw Outdoors with yours truly. And it is June 29th. We got one day left in June tomorrow. And as you can see, I'm floating out here on the kayak. It's super, that is not bad lighting, by the way. It is incredibly foggy. There's a combination of fog and then the air pollution coming from the Canadian wildfires has got the visibility on this lake that I'm kayaking right now basically non-existent. So honestly, I'm just out here making a video today because I did not want to edit. So I was contemplating what I was going to do with my day. I got a bunch of fishing videos, which if you've made it to this one, you've probably seen all the other ones that I've done this summer. And I didn't really feel like working on any of that stuff. Obviously it got done, but this one was about me and getting out after some fish. So the month of July and August is going to be kind of busy, but the month of June has been devoted to fishing. So today I actually started by coming out on this lake using the cloudy, hazy conditions to target bass. But ultimately the bass weren't playing. They're in the post spawn right now. They're kind of exhausted from guarding nests and protecting eggs from predators. So they're just not really aggressively feeding. They don't have any hormones or defense mechanisms really, overwhelming them. So what this turned into was me taking the timber that you can see floating around in this bay and turning it into a panfish endeavor. And ultimately, this lake is a kayak-only lake, so it's actually very hard for anglers to access. There's a lot of other wildlife that is utilizing this fishery, everything from eagles to otters and everything in between. But the fish in this lake tend to get bigger than any of the other lakes that we've been on this summer especially, because the water is shallower. This lake is actually eutrophic, meaning there's a lot of sedimentation. It's very shallow, warm water type fishery. And the fish grow big fast. They just don't live as long. But we've been out here on this lake, this little eutrophic watershed, trying to find panfish, crappies and perch and that kind of thing, which we can take home for the dinner table. This is how it went down. As we focused on timber in the hazy conditions, it led to a pretty surprising little day. So check this video out, check some catching out, and then I'm gonna explain what we're gonna do with the rest of this video. The beginning of the summer, when we started all this fishing stuff for you, it was really hot, it was really clear weather, and as the videos have went by, one by one, you may notice the pattern that the weather has just continuously gotten more rough and gray and rainy and otherwise not aesthetically pleasing. But from a fisherman and outdoorsman perspective, it's exactly what you want to see. So the goal for today's video, and the reason I wanted to make it, is ultimately we're gonna take this lake, which is paddle only, you can't take a motorized engine on it, and we're gonna use the remoteness of this place, plus the really, really hazy conditions that they present to us, and we're gonna try to simply pursue the biggest fish in the lake. We might not catch the most in this video, but I wanna catch the biggest. Whether the species shows itself as one or the other, not my say. But I want to catch the biggest predator swimming around in those waters. Oh yeah, that's sweet. That is a yellow perch, baby, and that thing is a jumbo. Totally different kind of fish. A giant yellow perch. Like I said, we were gonna catch a giant fish of some kind. Now the common perch, the yellow perch like this, typically, look at that, that thing is beautiful. Got the yellow fins and everything. Typically these perch only get to be about 8 or 9 inches, but this sucker is a foot long. It is just gorgeous and extremely edible. So we're gonna throw him on the stringer because we're taking him home. We're gonna eat this perch up. It'd be sweet if we got a couple more too. So since our stringer has now been graced with the presence of a beautiful perch, we're gonna switch gears here a little bit. It's catch and cook time. So what we're gonna do is we're actually going to catch more fish in the lake, which there are plenty of, and this will catch bass as well. We're gonna downsize our presentation even more from the Ned rig. So we're gonna go from the Ned rig, at least for a while. We'll keep the Ned rig rigged up though, because that thing is fire. Take the spinnerbait off. So rather than going with a huge bulky bait, one that, you know, is meant to catch giant fish, we're gonna go with one of the smallest baits that I have in my arsenal in order to try to catch big versions of smaller species. So we're gonna cut the spinnerbait off. We're actually gonna replace it with the smallest spinnerbait known to man. I actually caught crappies with this lure earlier in the summer on the channel here. This is what they call a road runner. And it's just a chartreuse jig head with a little singular blade, little Colorado blade that hangs underneath it. And then we're gonna stick on the back of it a tiny little chartreuse and black curly tail grub. Reason being, A, this pattern works. And it works on crappies and panfish and things that we can, you know, throw on the stringer and cook with our perch to make a little bit more of a meal, make it worth cleaning multiple fish instead of just one. But the second side of it is the bass in here are typically hanging out on the same sort of timber as the crappies and perch are. So why not just go for panfish with the expectation that you might also hook into a giant bass on the same exact presentation? Just a black and chartreuse curly tail grub on that roadrunner. That works just as well as anything else in this lake. Oh yeah, there's baitfish jumping in here. That's freaking sweet. All right, so we're gonna throw that little roadrunner bait right at these trees. There's clearly something chasing in here, which is good for us. So let's cast out and see what we can get on the roadrunner. We're just gonna steady retrieve it back. Oh, I missed him. Missed him right at the boat. There it is. Looks like a crappie. It is a crappie. It's a nice freaking crappie. Look at that. Jumbo crappie. It ain't rocket science. It is just experience pays over everything. That is a nice crappie. Way bigger than anything we caught the other day. And I knew this pattern was gonna work. So they're here and they're on this timber. So let the stringer build up. crappie and perch. That is the music to my ears, especially if we can get a bunch of them. Yeah, so that's how that went. So check this out. We've got ourselves a very nice stringer of crappies and a very nice studly perch there as well. Can't wait to eat him. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these fish home and we're gonna do a little catch and cook. I'm gonna show you how to prepare crappie. So first of all, how to fillet them, how to get the meat off of them. And then ultimately, how we're gonna do a quick and dirty little grill session on them to make some delicious fish sandwiches. So I'm gonna get the kayak out of the water here, get myself reeled together, drive home, get the grill fired up, and then we will talk fish. We're gonna eat the freshest fish that you've seen on this channel to date. So check it out, stay tuned. Should be a good one, delicious one at that. Oh yeah, we're back, and we are about an hour and a half removed from when we came off the lake. And this is my home currently. Won't be forever. Story on that later. But what I want to show you guys now is I want to show you how to fillet these kinds of panfish that we caught in order to prepare them for grilling. Now, if you're watching this video, I hope not only did you want to see some panfish, like some nice crappies and perch getting caught, but that you also want to learn how to process and clean your own fish so you can enjoy them. So I'm going to go real bare bones explanation here on how to fillet these fish to the best of my ability. Now we got crappie and perch. They're not created equal, so they're slightly different, but the concept's roughly the same. I'm going to show you some tricks for crappie and perch filleting that make them different but maximize the amount of meat. So the first thing I want to talk about is the playing field. We got some unbelievably complex technology here needed to get these fish filleted. You need a fillet knife, you need a pan of water, so this is actually just full of clear tap water mixed with salt. The salt will brine the fish and it'll also help clean off any yuckiness that may be there. And then double it over plastic bags. That's where you're going to put all the stuff that we don't keep from the fish. So between plastic bag, water for the fillets as we throw them in, and a knife, should be pretty easy to clean these fish. So now let me show you the steps. I'm going to kind of put the camera on an overhead view, more or less, and show you guys how to clean these fish prior to grilling them. There's one other thing that you're going to need when you are filleting crappies, and that's a spoon. So make sure you got yourself a spoon, a knife, pot of water, newspaper on the table to keep all the guts and stuff at bay, and then your plastic bag. Pretty much that simple. All right, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna take our fish, and I'm gonna start with the crappies. The crappies are what you need the spoon for. So the first thing we're gonna do when you have a crappie like this is we're gonna scale it, which is from tail to head. You're gonna rip all the scales off the fish with the spoon. And underneath it is just a really light and fine layer of skin. See how the scales just come off? You're gonna wanna put that either in your bag, if you can keep it available, or just kind of keep it off in a pile off to the side that you can put into your plastic bag. But we're gonna rip that scale layer off of both sides of the crappie, trying to keep the scales at bay and controlled. And you're gonna do that from the tail all the way up to the operculum, which is the scales that cover the gill. We're not going into the head or anything like that. Make sure you get under his pectoral fin, which is the arm fin of the fish. It extends out the side. Get all those scales, get them out of the way. Then you're gonna flip the fish over, and you're gonna do the exact same thing. You're gonna peel all those scales off. See how they just kind of fly off with the spoon. Basically, you want to get the whole side of the fish, because you're going to get a piece of meat that's basically the whole side of this fish. It's not going to be a very thick piece, but it will be quite a hunk. And these crappie are a little bit bigger than the ones that you might have seen us catch earlier on the channel with Callan and John Allen. So once you have that, now we're gonna take the knife. You're gonna take the fillet knife and you're gonna make a cut. One side of the fish at a time. You're gonna make a cut right behind that pectoral fin, all the way up and around the gill, right? And the easiest way to do that is start up here by his back, and you're just gonna create a big old slice all the way down the fish, just one, right? Once you do that, then you gotta run your knife along his backbone, just with the tip of the knife. Hold the fish down, and then just kind of work down the backbone of the fish. You're not pushing all the way through until you get to the end of the dorsal fin, which is the fin on the back. Then you're gonna guide the knife through so it emerges about halfway through the ventral fin, which is on the bottom here. And then you're just gonna run the knife all the way down until you cut right through the tail. So now you got this flap here. So now this is where the bread and butter comes from. This is what takes practice to do, to get good at. We're gonna take our crappie and we're gonna go back to where we started up at the spine. We're gonna use our thumb to start peeling that meat back towards you. And we're gonna use the knife to cut, and you're gonna do it in strokes. And every time you do a stroke, you'll be able to pull that fillet over a little bit more. So check this out, watch how it works. You pull it back with your thumb, run your knife down along the rib cage, and you see the meat starts peeling off nice and easy. So then you go back up to the top, up by his forehead, cut it again, keeping pressure on the ribs. And as you go, the meat starts peeling off. And you just keep guiding slowly but surely from the head down to the tail. And like I said, you're gonna try to keep pressure on that ribs. And as long as you're pulling the fillet away from the fish's face, you should continuously watch that meat come off in one solid piece. And I would say one of the biggest mistakes I see with beginning filleters, including myself, is you don't maintain the pressure down on the ribs. You try to cut horizontal and you just cut right through the fillet and it comes right off. Once you get the fillet all the way down past those ribs, see the ribs right there? You get down past the ribs, you're basically right at the belly now. So you just kind of cut that straight across, and would you look at that, you got yourself a brilliant, descaled, mind you, crappie fillet. And then you're gonna put that in the water like this to soak. Now that you got one in, you're gonna flip the fish. You've already descaled it, so hopefully you don't have to do that again. Although I'm just gonna make sure that I have all my scales off. You never truly get every scale until you wash the fillets afterwards. By the way, do this outside so you don't get yelled at by your mom, your wife, your girlfriend, whatever it might be. So again, making that vertical cut up by the gills. Holding the fish down, running the tip of the knife down to the end of the dorsal fin. Run the knife all the way through, right below the tail. Cut the meat off at the tail. Start pulling back the backbone, and in slices, start separating the meat from the backbone of the fish. Look at that. As long as you're maintaining pressure of the knife blade against the ribs, like almost down into it, while you're pulling the meat away, you should get a super clean cut. Look at that. That's like culinary expertise right there. And you should be able to get that fillet right off that crappie with absolutely zero issue whatsoever. Now we're gonna go to the perch next. And the thing about perch, like this guy here, perch have smaller scales and they're thicker, they're more coarse, which for scaling purposes is useless. You'll break the spoon before you'll get through that armor. But you can actually cut the meat off of this skin once you actually get the fillet cut. So watch this. We're gonna cut the fillet and then cut it off of the skin and scales. It's actually super easy. So we're gonna get under his pectoral fin and we're gonna get that first initial slice of the perch right behind the operculum, right up through spine. This is probably the hardest part, is getting through the hide of the perch because that, like I said, those scales are tougher. But once you get through and you're able to cut, you're gonna run it all the way down the tail. But here's the difference. In perch, don't cut through the tail. Leave it attached to the fin, which is called the caudal fin, the tail fin. Leave that as such, pull the knife out. Now you're gonna start lifting and cutting, just like we did on the crappie, right? We're gonna do the exact same process on the perch, except when we get done, there's gonna be two problems. One, our tail is still gonna be attached to the fin of the fish, and two, our fillet here is still gonna have skin on it. So, all right, now, here's the thing. We've got a perch and we've got a fillet, but it's still attached. So now, here's what you wanna do. Fold the fillet so it's facing away from you, right? So the perch head is facing towards you. We're gonna run a slit on the fillet right here at the base of the tail, and we're going to, with a 45-degree angle down away from you, we're gonna slice, pressure, to get this fillet loose from the skin. See how I did that? Those scales and that skin are so tough. It will not cut unless you mess it up. It will not cut off of the skin. It won't cut through it. So you just kind of run the knife. I'm actually getting the newspaper under me because I'm a doofus. But as you run the knife 45-degree down, just slits. Look at that. The perch meat, that is exquisite. Comes right off of the skin of the fish. Put it in the water. And just like that, now we have a pail of fillets. Next thing we'll do, we're actually gonna do this tomorrow just because of time's sake. Got other things to do. We will grill them and I will show you how to get the grill running and ultimately cook some crappies. Oh yeah, we're back, and it's actually like a month after we caught those crappies. They're filleted, and I'm gonna show you how to prepare them. Now, we're still struggling with the wildfire smoke, so comment down below if the smoke has inhibited your life at all. I just don't wanna take any risks. It's very dry. I don't wanna start the grill outside. So we're still gonna grill our crappie, but we're gonna do it with the oven. And I'm gonna show you the easiest possible way to make crappie, but it's so delicious. And it's the same recipe, except it won't be sitting on a piece of hot foil in the charcoal grill. It's gonna be made in the oven. So I'm gonna show you how to make that crappie using the oven. It's a fan favorite. You're gonna love this recipe. So simple to use. We got ourselves a whole packet of crappie. I've got them vacuum sealed here from our catching. And then the rest of the recipe is pretty dang simple. And to be quite honest with you guys, you can modify this recipe with your own kind of breading. Like, you don't need to use crushed crackers. You can use cornmeal in its place. Or you don't need to use Italian seasoning, but you can use Old Bay if you like that kind of like spicy Southern Maryland style fish. But ultimately, you need oil. You need an oven. Mine's preheating here. I got it preheated at 390 degrees. And then you need crackers as your back breading. You can use breadcrumbs as well, but you just need some sort of grainy carb to layer onto the fish. So check this out. We're gonna prepare this fish. We're gonna put it on a cookie sheet, and I'm gonna stick it in the oven, and you're gonna see what deliciousness ensues. All right, so first thing we gotta do is we gotta make a breading. So I'm gonna take the round crackers here. I've actually got a pack already opened. And quite frankly, all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take these crackers and I'm going to crush them up. We're basically making our own breadcrumbs. So you've probably seen Italian breadcrumbs or unseasoned breadcrumbs in the grocery store. That is absolutely not necessary. But if you have those in your cupboard, that's great. But I just made my own breadcrumbs right there. Look at that, immaculate, by smacking half a packet of these golden round knockoff Ritz crackers. So that's literally all you need. So a half a pack of Ritz crackers ground up. We've got breadcrumbs now. So now I'm gonna add probably 1 to 2 tablespoons of Italian seasoning. I'm gonna use 2 because I like the bite. I'm gonna add about a teaspoon of pepper, and then we're gonna add about a teaspoon or a tablespoon of salt. And then I'm just gonna kind of mix all that up, make a breading. You want it just basically like a uniform color. When you know, you know. When it's all mixed up, it all looks the same, you know you've got it right. When your breading's all said and done, you should have something that looks like that. Pretty fundamental. And we're gonna keep that right here. Now this is where it gets pretty simple. I got a cookie sheet here, big enough to hold my fillets. I got my breading, I've got my classic olive oil poured into a plate. You don't need a lot, you just need enough. And now I'm gonna cut open my vacuum sealed crappie fillets. I'm gonna dip them both sides in the oil, dip them both sides in the breadcrumb, and put it right onto the cookie sheet. That easy. I'm just gonna take a couple fillets here. One side, two side, one side, two side. Take it to the breadcrumb, one side, push it down, flip her over. Second side, push her down. Now you got 2 breaded fillets. Put them on the tray. That easy, folks. That easy. All right, so now we've got our fillets all breaded up. Those are looking spectacular, I might add. I'm gonna stick them in the oven here, open the door, and I'm gonna let them sit in the oven for a total of 20 minutes. Now what I like to do is I like to let them cook for about 15 minutes on one side, and then I'll pull them out, flip them, roast them in for another 5, and that's all they need. So at this point, we're just gonna wait until 1 o'clock, 15 minutes from now, and then we're gonna eat some crappie. Well, time's up, and check it out. Oh my goodness. We've got cooked fish. Smells immaculate. We're actually gonna eat this 2 different ways. I'm gonna show you a sandwich version of what you can do with this crappie, or I'm gonna show you what it looks like over rice, if you're feeling that kind of vibe. Well, it's amazing when you have options. So I've got these 2 delicious little meals here. Either one of them would be a delicious lunch of crappie. We got the breaded sandwich with lettuce, cheese, ketchup, just on bread, nothing crazy. Like I said, this is just stuff that is meant to be appealing to all and doable for all. And then we got the breaded fish and rice with a little bit of lime juice over top of it. It should be fire. Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and try to pick one either. I'm gonna eat them both. So, hope you enjoyed this episode, Captain Coleslaw, catch and cook action. Like and subscribe. My mouth is watering so bad. I don't even know which one to start with. I think I'm gonna start with the rice. Shoot straight, stay strong. Until next time, that's it. I'll see you on the next one. Oh my gosh. You can't get fish like that in a restaurant. I don't care what anyone says. It's a mild fish. So good though. And you really cannot mess up a sandwich.